What's up, guys? It's Bolt, and I'm back with another Remnant 2 build guide. In this video, we're going to go over my updated DECEIT build. Two different versions for different legendaries. I've seen a lot of requests for this, and I'm here to bring it to you guys. Now, let's go over the first one. The first one is going to be focused on Size Matters legendary, which in my opinion is the best legendary for DECEIT. And then the other version is going to be something like Sharpshooter, Master Killer, Jack of all trades, if that's what you roll. But first, let me preface this by saying that DECEIT is not a good mobbing weapon. Do not bring this to dungeons. Do not bring it to World Clear. It is just not a good mobbing weapon. What it is good at, however, is its niche. And its niche is destroying bosses that do not have weak spots or have very difficult to hit weak spots. Keep it at its niche. Swap to this build when you want to fight somebody like Keula or like Bloat King or something like that. Some enemy, or the Venom. Enemies that have tough to hit weak spots or no weak spots at all, DECEIT will dominate them. Now, the one thing about this version of the DECEIT build, the Size Matters, is that unfortunately we cannot use Hunter's Shroud on this build anymore. That is because our magazine is too large, and we will not be able to maintain the Hunter's Shroud. But we make up for that by using now Hunter's Focus, and with the way we have this build set up with the maximum evade speed, you will be able to maintain Hunter's Focus despite any dodge you do. You can do any dodge roll, and you will be able to maintain the focus so long as you maintain aim down sight throughout the roll. So that's really nice to have. As for the Gunslinger, no stranger here. It's Bullet Storm. Bullet Storm does give you the charge speed. Unfortunately, it's bugged right now. It's not giving you the crit chance. It used to do that. Hopefully they fix that. But if not, it is what it is. But we still get that huge charge speed bonus, which gives us a lot of DPS on DECEIT. Newcomer here is the 0 hour. We cannot use Butcher's Fetish anymore because our magazine is just too large. We will not be able to fit all those shots off within the 5-second duration of Butcher's Fetish. So we have 0 hour. We are a light roll here, so we get the damage and we get the crit chance. Really nice to have. Archer's Crest, staple on DECEIT, just get that charge speed. And now, since we do not have to use mod gen on this version of DECEIT, the magazine is so large that we will have more than enough ammo in our magazine to activate our next Ouroboros mod. So because we don't need mod gen, we could just stack straight up damage. So we went with Probability Cord, Ring of Flawed Beauty, and Xania's Malice. Now this is all weak spots. DECEIT does all weak spots, so we want to stack as much weak spot damage as we possibly can. And that is because it has an innate low weak spot modifier, so it benefits quite a bit from just stacking straight up weak spot damage on it. And don't worry about the Ring of Floor Beauty burden. We will not even have worry about that because feel it because DECEIT is all weak spots, so we will not be doing any kind of damage other than that. As for the secondary, we went with the Corrupted Rune Pistol, and this is for a double debuff. We have Fetid Wounds on there, but feel free to swap that out for another mutator, maybe something like Momentum, whatever. We're not really using this weapon much anyway. It's mainly for the Death Brand, and that is to provide the 10% debuff on the enemies, and also give us some weak spot damage if we do decide to kill some ads during the boss fight. You can just pick up the little the Death Brand that it leaves behind. You pick it up, it gives you more weak spot damage. So really nice to have. Gives us a nice boost in damage for our DECEIT. And Hero Sword, I prefer Hero Sword on DECEIT builds because it comes out quicker. Feel free to use Hunter's Spear or the Krellax if you do not like the Hero Sword, but I just prefer to get the melee attack out faster to get my DPS going quicker. And I have Tainted Blade on there as well, just for another dot. A little bit more mod gen from the dot and the 10% corrosive debuff if you do not shoot with the Corrupted Rune Pistol. And then DECEIT has the Supercharger Mutator, which is the best mutator for DECEIT. That charge time and critical chance is just irreplaceable, so very important to have that on there. As for the armor, this is a min-maxed armor set for the light roll with strong back, and it looks quite cool for being a min-maxed armor set. It is the Battle Helmet, the High Noon Duds, the Academics Trousers, and the Zealots Wraps. Now, feel free to use any other type of armor, but keep in mind we are using 0 hours, so make sure you are in the light roll category. And as for the relic, I went with the Enlarged Heart, just in case you have to do a reload with DECEIT. If you've missed so many shots and you screwed up your rotation for whatever the case may be and you need a reload, you can use the Gunslinger Relic perk. And Enlarged Heart is quite fast. It's a double speed use and it heals you fully. So it's probably one of my favorite hearts in the game. But if you do not like the Enlarged Heart, you could swap that out for another relic of your choice. Onto the traits, we have Long Shot and Ammo Reserves as the respective archetype traits. Fortify for a little bit more damage reduction. Swiftness for that movement speed. Strong Back, very important to have so we could be in the light roll category. Flashcaster, this is also very important. We will be looping the Ouroboros mod and we do not want to be caught in animation, so Flashcaster, very important to have. Gifted to keep us out in our skills longer. Potency, this one is not mandatory. I just love Potency. It's one of my favorite traits in the game. I love consumables. So I have a few points in there. Not mandatory. If you do not use consumables, feel free to spec into something else. Vigor, obviously. Spirit, just get that mod gen out there so we make sure we get our Ouroboros mod out. Footwork, now this is also not a mandatory trait, but I really like it on DECEIT, especially with our movement speed that we have on this build. You move quite fast in aim down sight, and if it just feels really smooth while you're in Hunter's Focus and you're just strafing with DECEIT and getting your shots off. But if this is not your preferred playstyle, then you can spec Footwork into something else of your choice. Onto the Prism. We have range, critical chance, crit damage, weak spot as the single fragments for some juicy damage. Now for the Prism itself, we have the charge time to get those shots off faster on DECEIT. Munitions, this is also very important because DECEIT does chew through ammo, so we need these ammo reserves. You will be struggling with ammo, so make sure you carry some ammo boxes with you. Sniper for the damage and the range. Meta, because duh, it's meta. And this is another one that is not mandatory. It's just my preferred fusion for just general play. I really like Athletic for the movement speed and evade speed. That's very important, the evade speed portion, to keep us in Hunter's Focus out throughout any role that we do. You will have to use an Ambit Ember or a Haste potion if you really want to keep the evade speed at max. So while that's active, you will be able to maintain focus at all times throughout any role. So I really like that. And the movement speed is just very, very nice. Very difficult to play without Athletic now. It's just such a good... it feels so good. But if this is not your preferred playstyle, again, swap this out for a fusion of your choice. And then size matters. The best legendary for DECEIT. Just my preferred way to play it. But the other version to play is not too far behind. Maybe a few seconds off on time to kill. I just like the comfort that size matters gives DECEIT. But you can't go wrong with the Master Killer or Sharpshooter. And that's the version we're going to go over right now. Alright, so here is the version that does not use size matters. This is for the version that utilizes either Sharpshooter, Master Killer, Jack of all trades, or whatever other legendary you so do choose to use on this build. Now, this one does require mod gen in order to sustain its mod. First, you absolutely need the bottled Shadeberry concoction. That is going to give us that 10% mod generation. Second, very important, you will need the Burden of the Follower. Need that mod gen from Burden of the Follower now. Third, very important, all these things are needed. The hero sword now has a volatile strike on there. Our melee attacks will proc the volatile strike, and the explosion gives us a very generous portion of mod generation. Now, for the traits, you absolutely need these two traits max, Spirit and Insight. Without all of these things, you will not be able to generate the mod endlessly. Now, the fragments are still the same. We don't have to even change our fragments. With Spirit, Insight, Burden of the Follower, Volatile Strike, and the Shade Berry Concoction. With all those combined, you will be able to loop the mod endlessly, no issues. Now, if for whatever reason you hit like an armored part of an enemy and you don't generate the appropriate amount of mod gen, for example, Venom, he has a lot of, if you hit his staff or something like that, it's considered an armored hit, you will not generate the necessary amount of mod power. So in order to compensate for that, I do still suggest you guys use a Fairy Needle consumable just for some more mod generation. But you do not need it if you're fighting normal enemies and stuff like that, normal bosses. Those things that I just mentioned right there are going to be more than enough to loop the mod endlessly, so don't even sweat it. But with this version of the build, we're back to Hunter's Shroud. Very, very amazing for DECEIT because in between Ouroboros activations, we will re-enter Shroud and get a nice little damage boost, a little bit of defense from the Shrouded effect. I love Hunter's Shroud on DECEIT. Back to the OG classic Butcher's Fetish. This is a staple on classic DECEIT builds because when we do those charged melee attacks, we will activate the Butcher's Fetish and give us that nice critical chance of critical damage while it is active. Other than that, the armor is up to you guys here. I just like looking cool. I think this looks good with DECEIT. But with this setup, we're not light roll anymore. We are at medium weight, 49.9 with a 46% damage reduction right here. And again, if you guys do not want to use potency, feel free to spec it to something else. Everything else is pretty much mandatory on this build. And again, I cannot stress this enough. Insight, Spirit, Burden of the Follower, Volatile Strike, and Bottled Shadeberry. With those things, you will be able to loop the mod endlessly. Don't stress it. And then you can see in my fragments right here, we didn't touch them. You don't need any mod gen here at all. You can still loop the mod just fine. No worries. Keep it moving. Keep killing those bosses. And that's it, guys. So I hope you like both of these versions of DECEIT. Please drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. What is your preferred legendary on DECEIT? Is it Size Matters? Is it Sharpshooter, Master Killer, Jack of all trades? Let me know your thoughts. I prefer the Size Matters just for a little bit more comfort, but the differences are very negligible. Maybe a few seconds time to kill difference. It's not a big deal. I just like the comfort of Size Matters. But that's it. Hope you guys found this video enjoyable and informative, and if you did, please consider giving it a like. Please consider sharing it. Please consider subscribing if you have not done so already, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.